Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dive into the messy financials of public companies and try to make sense of it all. And let me tell you, this one might be a bit of a bumpy ride. Today we're strapping in to decode the Form 10K for Hoops Scouting USA. This is essentially their yearly report card to the SEC. And while it's supposed to tell us a lot about how a company is doing, some of these are more like cryptic crossword puzzles. Now, right off the bat, this company is small, really small. They're a younger outfit focused on a basketball website and app for high school players, trying to get noticed by colleges. Think of it as a digital handshake between players and recruiters. And speaking of small, their operations are pretty much run by one person, Jamie Oye, who wears pretty much every hat imaginable. President, CEO, CFO, secretary, treasurer, and even the sole director. That's a lot of hats for one head, and it tells us this is a very lean operation, almost a one-man show right now. So as of August 2025, they have about 101 million shares out there. That sounds like a lot, but we need to see how much that actually represents in terms of ownership and value. They're also what's called a smaller reporting company. This means they don't have to provide as much detailed financial information as bigger players, which can make it harder to get a full picture. It's like being asked to guess the ingredients for a cake when you only get to see a sliver of the recipe. Let's jump into the money side of things. For the year ending June 30, 2024, they incurred operating expenses of about $50,800. Any revenue yet? Zero. So all those expenses, even if they seem tiny, are coming out of their pocket with no money coming in. And looking at their balance sheet as of June 30, 2024, their total assets were just under $77,000. But their liabilities, what they owe, were much higher, over $233,000. This gap, their deficit, means they owe more than they own. That's a tough spot for any business. A big chunk of what they owe is to a related party. In this case, it's Jamie O, the CEO and sole director, who has loaned the company money to keep things afloat. As of June 30, 2024, the company owed him over $25,000. This is common in very early stage companies, but it also highlights the company's heavy reliance on its main person. Now, here's a red flag that pops up often in these reports, a going concern note. This is basically the auditor saying, we're not sure if this company can stay in business for the next year. And for Hoops Scouting USA, it's pretty clear why. They have no revenue, a big operating loss, and depend on outside money to survive. Without more funding, they might have to shut down. That's a pretty serious warning. Looking at their expenses, we see things like professional fees and transfer agent fees, which are costs associated with being a public company. For the year ended June 30, 2024, these added up to about $50,878. Compare that to the prior year, nearly $104,000. The drop in expenses is mainly due to less legal spending, likely because they spent a lot in the previous year on getting their stock ready to be traded. A notable event was their purchase of the Grit mobile application and related products for $100,000 back in February 2023. This was a big investment for them, but the report states this intangible asset was fully impaired as of June 2023. Impaired means it lost its value. So they spent $100,000 on something that in accounting terms is now worth nothing. That's a tough pill to swallow financially speaking. When we look at their net loss for the year ending June 30, 2024, it was about $50,878. That's an improvement from the previous year's net loss of over $123,000. So they are bleeding less money, which is a small positive sign, but they are still bleeding money. Their auditor, Bolidale Lowell & Co., has issued an opinion that states the company's ability to continue as a going concern raises substantial doubt. They point out the operating losses, lack of revenue, and reliance on additional funding from management. Essentially, the auditors are sounding the alarm bell too. At the end of June 2024, their total cash was a mere $76. Yes, $76. Now this is likely a simplified number for reporting, and they do have inventory worth nearly $77,000, but that very low cash number really underscores how tight things are. The company's strategy involves a basketball scouting website and an app called Grit App. They acquired the Grit App, but as we saw, it was impaired. This acquisition was meant to boost their offerings and revenue streams, but its immediate write-off suggests it didn't pan out as expected. They aim to have players upload game film and stats, and for coaches to use this as a recruiting tool. They have no cash paid for interest, which makes sense since they aren't selling anything, in any loans they have are either not interest bearing or the interest is being capitalized, meaning added to the loan balance rather than paid out. However, they do have loans payable of $16,000 which are unsecured and non-interest bearing. One of the key issues flagged is a lack of formal policies and procedures in their internal controls. This means things might not be standardized or consistently followed, which can lead to errors. They also lack a formal audit committee with a financial expert, meaning there isn't a dedicated board group overseeing their financial health. This is a significant weakness in how they manage their money and report it. Looking at security ownership, Jamie Aurier, the one-man management team, owns about 37% of a company. Grip Performance Athletics Inc. also owns about 37%, so together these two hold most of the company. The rest is spread around. This concentration of ownership means that significant decisions, like if the company were to be sold, would largely depend on these two major holders. Their strategy is to bring in big names in basketball like NBA and NCAA players and coaches to feature their workouts on the app. They plan to share revenue with these personalities. This is a classic influencer marketing approach. The idea is that if famous players promote the app, more people will use it. It's a decent idea, but it hinges on their ability to attract and retain these big names and then actually monetize the user base. Inside the Grit app, they offer daily programmed workouts, premium content, film breakdowns, and even lead Q&A sessions. They're trying to create value beyond just drills. The problem, as we've seen, is that the app itself was bought and then immediately considered worthless by the company for accounting purposes, suggesting it didn't bring the value they hoped for or that their accounting for it was problematic from the start. They acknowledge having competitors like Pure Sweat Training, which is a pretty well-known name in the digital training space. The report states that competitors might have deeper pockets and can handle sales downturns better. This is a crucial point. In a competitive market, if you don't have strong financials, it's hard to outspend or outlast bigger players. So what's my take on Hoop Scouting USA? Honestly, this company is in a very precarious position. They've got a lot of ambition with their basketball scouting platform and the Grit app, but the financial reality is stark. They have no revenue, a significant and growing deficit, and heavy reliance on one person. The fact that their key acquisition, the Grit app, was immediately impaired signals serious problems with that venture, or at the very least, how they evaluated it. The going concern warning from their auditors is the loudest message here. They are very much in survival mode, hoping for new investment to keep the lights on. Their strategy of using big basketball names is a good idea in theory, but it requires significant upfront investment and a clear path to profitability, which is currently missing. If they can't secure substantial funding and start generating revenue quickly, it's hard to see them surviving long term. They're essentially betting everything on attracting users and advertisers for a niche market, and so far that bet hasn't paid off financially. For investors, this is a very high-risk situation, likely for those who understand the startup world and are prepared for the strong possibility of losing their entire investment. Alright, that's our breakdown of Hoop Scouting USA's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.